Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Our guest this morning is Dr. Samson Osagie. Dr. Osagie, a legal practitioner, is the former minority whip in the House of Representatives. He's the executive director, Center for Advanced and Dynamic Leadership for Development. He joins us remotely. A fine morning to you, Dr. Osagie. Okay, let me try again, Dr. Osagie. Good morning, and thank you very much for making the time for us this morning.
Thank you, my brother. Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Indeed, it is our pleasure. So, of course, it's on everybody's lips, everybody's mind, the current pains coming from the subsidy of PMS being removed. Now, there's no way it wasn't going to be removed, as the president had said. So here we are. So it's about easing the pains of subsidy removal. Inflation, as it is now, is at 22.22% as of April, according to figures. And the World Bank says that, look, when this happens, it's likely to, hike. There will be a temporary hike. So it's like these pains are there. What is your idea on how, these are like birth pains. What's your idea on how we can ease those pains for Nigerians?
Well, thank you, my brother. I must confess that Nigeria is undergoing very grueling experience economically at this point in time. And at the very center of it all is the fact that inflation has hit the roof, with cost of living rising astronomically almost on a daily basis, with no immediate solution in sight. Is very distressing, and is very heavy on the citizens of this country at this point in time.
But also
now,
necessary.
The question you ask is that
I added, but also necessary. Would you agree?
Yes, necessary at this point in time. I was coming to that. The question to ask is, what is government doing? Is the steps government taking enough to cushion the effects that we are feeling? And I dare say that from what government has set out to do in order to reduce the burden, economic burden on the citizens, it is not as if the people themselves do not understand what government is doing. But of course, you know that anybody under pain will immediately be looking for a solution almost immediately. Some of these steps have their positive impact, and they are going to have their positive impact in the long run. But government is doing everything possible to make sure that succor comes. But in doing that thing which will remove the pains from the people, government must look into very seriously its implementation strategy. I'm aware that government has set out a number of palliatives, a number of measures in order to address this teething economic problem that is biting hard on the masses. These solutions are at best in the moment going to be in the short run, and implementation strategies and ensuring that this thing gets to the very people is also very important. And the criticisms of the people is that if it's not well managed, the elites may hijack the process, and at the end of the day, we may face a situation where the masses for who these palliatives are meant may not benefit from it after all. So I just say that at this point in time, it is incumbent on government to devise uncommon strategies to monitor what it has set out to do. It is not in doubt that people have confidence in this government. It is not in doubt that people have confidence in the capacity and ability of the president just elected to tackle the challenges. But what is in doubt is the fact that those that will be charged with the responsibility of administering and implementing the strategies for reducing this economic hardship are not going to be trusted by the mass of the people. And I think government must look into that very seriously in order to devise means and strategies of monitoring.
Okay, indeed. So thank you very much. And you see, what you said in there, it sort of aligns with a document I saw by KPMG. And they were saying that one of the most important things that government is going to have to do is to communicate the removal of PMS fuel subsidies to the Nigerian public, that is a very, very important aspect of the process. And oftentimes, governments, for whatever reason, they're not like the private sector, that those ones will put money behind an important, crucial communication. Government oftentimes does not. But that KPMG document I'm talking about, when they were just giving an overview of this, said that is a crucial aspect of it, explaining the rationale for the removal of food subsidy, not food subsidy, we don't, of PMS subsidy. Because perhaps when people understand it well, then they can better bear this matter. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. That KPMG point of view, that it's going to be very, very crucial for government to communicate this thing very, very well to the people.
Yes, absolutely correct. I also read that KPMG document to a point, and it raised a number of challenges that the process of implementing the palliatives, the challenges that it will face, one of which is constant communication, and two, the issues of corruption. Yes. Now, I believe so much that the government is sincere in wanting to alleviate the suffering of the people. The government is also sincere in attempting to do these economic reforms by way of removing fuel subsidy that have become a behemoth on the economic life of our country. Now, the challenge is in the implementation of these strategies. And that is why, for me, government must, side by side with pushing for these palliatives, consider the long-term, the medium and longer-term strategy that will give economic succor to Nigerians and then bring this inflationary trend, that is hitting the roof. And I dare say that strategy is to fixing our refinery. There can be no alternative to local refining of our crude oil. There is no alternative to that. In order for us to ensure that we have the prices, that will best suit the Nigerian people, we need to refine our products. We are large enough as an economy. Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa. We are large enough to refine our economy. The answer lies in refining our local product. And I just said that Mr. President must consider that as a matter of urgency and as a matter of, in the enlightened self-interest of our great country. If we don't make our refineries work, we will continue in the vicious circle that we have, the nation has subjected the citizens. And I think that is very important. Now, coming to the issues of cutting costs and ensuring that waste is reduced in order that resources are channeled to social services and infrastructures that benefit both the mass of the people, the entrepreneurs, so that the cost of doing business can go down. It is also very important. Now, I hear a whopping sum of 1.9 trillion, has been earned for the last month, and the National Economic Council is going to send to the distributive pool for the 3 tiers of government about 900 billion. Now about 700 billion to be put in infrastructure development fund. That is good enough. Those infrastructure must include of necessity and of priority the rehabilitation, resuscitation of our refineries. Okay. So that in the next few months, if we start refining our products, then we are not going to be told by the NNPC or the marketers that market forces is forcing the price of petroleum products up, or that the cost of importing petroleum products has increased owing to the rise in the exchange rate. Nobody will tell us that. If we refine products in Port Harcourt, Kaduna, Warri, and then you supply to the citizens, you are not going to have the foreign exchange component in doing that. You certainly will not. And that will drastically force down the cost of petroleum products for the Nigerian citizens. Because it's an abundant natural resource that God has blessed us with. It should not be our cost. It should not be our Waterloo. It should not be our albatross the way it is now. So I suggest very strongly to Mr. President that fixing the refinery must be a matter of categorical imperative for this government. And okay. That is very important. Of course, the second point, which I will highlight if time permits, is that this government must do the uncommon thing. Nigerians have cried and cried enough for the reduction of the cost of governance. I think now is the time. And if President Tinubu attempt to reduce the cost of governance across board, then Nigerians will begin, to have much more confidence in the government and its ability, to drive the policies it is doing. Because Nigerians cannot continue to cry and weep under the heavy burden of inflation, while those in government are living in opulence. Now, that is also very key. We also must make sacrifices, those of us in government. If it was practiced in the past, we cannot see that it has not benefited us. So we must look inwards and public officers should begin to now live Spartan lifestyle, so that the masses that they are representing can understand that these sacrifices are being made, across board. Indeed. And I think these two areas will make this president a most desired president that Nigeria has ever had.
Indeed. All of what you've just said sort of comes under that aspect of this conversation where Nigerians will need to be communicated to as to the benefits of the removal of this subsidy, because it was immediate. Now, whereas the benefits might not be immediately seen, they need to be seen sooner rather than later, and perhaps that's another challenge in there, because when you are, quote-unquote, suffering, but are able to still smile a bit because you can see some of the benefits of your suffering, surely that will go a long way in sort of settling people down and saying very much and understanding very much as you have said that we also have to, bear part of this sacrifice.
I agree with you. Communication is key to effective leadership and of course governance. The presidency and of course the government must continue to speak to the people of this country. I understand that the presidential spokesman has been speaking on this matter. The president has also been using the opportunity of meeting with various interest groups, women groups, the traditional institutions, former governors, public officers, across board that he has been meeting with to drum the support for the policies of government. But it must not stop. The president must continue to talk to Nigerians, must continue to explain to Nigerians, must continue to talk and not get tired. Because it is only when the citizens constantly hears what the government is doing, what is intended to do, and what benefit will accrue in the long term, that they can begin to exercise those patience, because they will continue to get that assurance. So I agree with KPMG that communication is key. It must continue to communicate. Even the most difficult issues, I must continue to explain it to the mass of the people. And I think that will go a long way to give them the assurance that better days lies ahead.
Indeed. Okay. Reverend Dominic has come on the line. Good morning to you, Reverend.
Good morning, Chief Yori. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
I hope your guest will hear me too.
Yes, I'm sure he can hear us.
Good morning. Good morning, gentlemen.
Dr. Samson Osagie.
Let me play what they call devil's advocate. If you remember, you host Engineer Bala in your studio a month ago, if you remember very well. And Bala, as an expert, a good friend of mine said that removing subsidy, what we call gain, will be worse than if we remove subsidy. We're going to face a very bad time than remove subsidy. I've said it several times over. Look at what is happening today. If we have done what we need to do, if you can hear me, can you hear me?
Please continue. Please continue. Reverend, continue, please.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, let me on. But Engineer Bala was saying that this subsidy we want to remove, if we remove it, the crisis and inflation that will take over it will worse than keeping subsidy. And today we are seeing it. And nobody will believe what I'm going to say. The inflation is above anything on Nigeria. Now, there's a 10,000 or 8,000 we want to give some Nigerians. I said it before. Who is making plans for you and for me? Does it mean that I'm not part of Nigeria? Does it mean I don't have a car? Or I don't have right to eat in Nigeria? If I'm making a plan for 12 million people, who makes plan for 190 million people? We did the wrong thing at the wrong time. Look at what is it. If we make our refineries available, at least I don't think fuel will be up to 300 naira. Because we remove ferries, we remove cargo, we remove shipping. If you remove it, if we are producing food in Nigeria, if our refineries are working, then what is working, and we remove subsidy, fine. Food will not be more than 300 to 400. Because if you talk to marketers, I'll talk to one of them. It's when they bought with dollar about 800 naira a dollar. You pay for cargo, you pay maritime, you pay customs. All these things added cost to this 617 naira. But if our refinery is working, it's not a shame to us that an OPEC member nation is not having a refinery that's working. Why should we import food after all? We must return back the subsidy. If we want to see Nigeria not to go the way of Zimbabwe or other nations, we must return this subsidy. And if we go this way, we will need to see the consequences of it in Nigeria. Because nobody can manage. People means well. They cannot manage the inflation that this subsidy is about to bring. Even people who say catfish, even people who say water, transportation, my daughter cannot go to work again because of transportation. How do we manage it?
All right. Keep going. Okay, Reverend. Thank you very much, Reverend Dominic, for calling in. Well, Dr. Osagie, you heard him, and I guess what he's saying will resonate with many Nigerians. You know, Dr. Osagie, that we've been, I wouldn't say toying, but we've been trying to engage with this issue for quite a number of administrations before this time has come. And among the commentary that I've heard is that, look, it's okay to remove subsidy, but there are some preparatory work that needs to be done before you remove it. But the way it came, it took everybody by surprise. As you remember, on Inauguration Day, the president just said the words, "It has gone." And that was it. Within an hour, by the very next day, pumps were adjusted all over the place. So this is one of the challenges. What do you think about that particular opinion, that in an ideal case scenario, some of the things Reverend Dominic was talking about might have been worked out and put in place before the deed was done? Because we're talking here, the subsidy, all this financial, assistance and all of that, it's only for the poor and vulnerable. And there are many people who will say that, look, if you don't want to call me poor, call me vulnerable. Myself, I deserve something. I'm managing. I can't survive. How would you comment, Dr. Osagie?
Well, to be honest, Reverend Dominic actually captured the mood of the nation in terms of the very gloomy picture, the economic picture that we see today. And like I said at the beginning, it's very distressing. and it's very unfortunate.
You know what,
But
Dr.
let me say
Osagie,
this, that
Dr.
no
Osagie,
nation-
Dr. Osagie, I beg your pardon. Let me interrupt you because Ada has also called in from Jos. Let me add her, presentation as well, and then you can sort of mop it up. Good morning to you, Ada.
All right.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Yori, and good morning to your guests. It's Ada Unogu calling from Jos Plateau State. For me, I took a look at what happened. That is on although I didn't like the way President Tinubu announced it that subsidy is gone, and all that on the inaugural speech. But when I looked at it again, Mr. Yori, truth must be said. If he has wanted to choose a method of going to talk about it, he cannot do it. But the only thing I'm trying to say now is that let him adopt a better way of easing the pain. That is now not focusing on vulnerable people or whatever. Let them now inject it into the health sector, education, agriculture, electricity, all those things that will create an enabling environment, so that investors can come and invest and people can also, employ themselves. Then another thing they should do is to harness the compressed natural gas. They said if we do that, it's an alternative to fuel, so that will help the price of fuel to crash soon. Then again, in addition to this, our refineries, they're not talking about it again. Those refineries must be fixed. No amount of palliatives can ease this pain. Those refineries must be fixed. That's my take on it. All the same, let's not give up on Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Ada. Dr. Osagie, now that you've heard that as well, it's still going back to Nigerians need to see almost immediately the benefits of this sacrifice.
Yes, Ada actually took the wind off my sail in my response to Reverend Dominic. I was going to say that no nation grows without undergoing reforms. Even the most developed countries of the world today are constantly undergoing reforms, which inconveniences its citizens at one point or the other. And these reforms, Nigeria must undergo it, and of course, we must bear the pains. I spoke to somebody yesterday, he said, because I'm in Abuja, I don't feel it. The truth is that I filled my tank with over 70,000 naira a day. I was traveling to Makurdi. So this challenge is for everybody, and it is not everybody that can actually bear it, in the current circumstances. But it is something we have to go through. Now, let's look at it. Sustaining the fuel subsidy regime within the context of the economic gloom that we were presented with, in the twilight of the last administration, is something that no government who wants to succeed would have been able to continue with. In the first place, even if President Tinubu had not announced that subsidy was gone, this condition we are finding ourselves now is what we would have seen come to, because by June 30th, the budget of 2023, which make provisions for subsidy up to June 30th, would have lapsed. And from July 1st, government would not have been able to handle the situation by paying more subsidy to continue it. So it is not the announcement of President Tinubu, that caused the removal of subsidy, as a matter of fact. It is the budget of the national government which allows subsidy to be paid up to June 30th.
Yes.
Now, let's look at the issues very critically. Now, can we continue as a nation to feed a few businessmen and allow them to continue to line up their pockets at the expense of the greater majority of the people? The answer is no. Because what we find today, for instance, you can see the way price of fuel jumped to 617. And then we are hearing all kinds of excuses. The truth of the matter is that all those who are in the business of petroleum products are fighting back. That is the truth. And they will come and tell you that it's the forces of demand and supply. What is the meaning of that?
Okay, Dr.
People
Osagie.
who have been lining importers of fuel, who have benefited from the subsidy regime, in the last over a decade, and have made stupendous wealth out of it, are still continuing, to grow the citizens.
Okay, Dr. Osagie.
Of, petroleum products.
Dr.
Yes,
Osagie, sorry to butt in. Before you continue
yes,
on this critical look that you're taking at the issue, Hussein has called in from Jos. Good morning, Mr. Hussein.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning. Go ahead, please.
The truth is that, let's say the truth, Mr. Yori. The people that have been enjoying the same subsidies for all these years, that we as Nigerians are suffering, economy is better. That's because of this issue of subsidy, are the ones that are truncating all this effort. Sorry to say this. The only thing that is left to do is for the NLC, who are the body now talking and complaining about this, to liaise with the federal government, that the president have to sincerely, honestly, look at what is happening in NNPC. If situation will warrant that, let there be reshufflement seriously in NNPC, complete overhaul of NNPC. Because they have been mismanaging, they are the ones that are mismanaging this process of subsidy that bring us up to this problem. So also the issue of refinery, even if whoever is being elected today as a president in this country, if the issue of those people handling refineries and other people are not being handled, reshuffling them from that place, who are the brains behind all these things, that we've been paying billions of naira in dollars to turn around maintenance, and up to now that is not working. Who are they? If we cannot trace these people, do away with these people, then we cannot, you cannot start building a house from the roof.
All right, Mr. Hussein, I want to thank you very much for calling in. I wonder, on that point, you brought in the NNPC. You probably saw, I don't know if Mr. Hussein saw it or not, but there was a report yesterday where I think the caption, the title was something along the lines of fresh facts emerge about the NNPC. And therein, in the report, when you look at the report, there were, aspects of it talking about a campaign of misinformation or disinformation, misinformation of the people, of the public. And I think it's coming out of NNPC that mischief makers, are actually putting out all of this. And these mischief makers might not be too far removed from the beneficiaries of the fuel subsidy when it was in place. President Tinubu, to return to you, Dr. Osagie, President Tinubu had said that during the campaign that he's not going to be among those that will be, sponsoring our revered brothers in neighboring countries, Cotonou, Niger, and not to mention all the people that we've always known as the usual suspects within the country that have been benefiting from this. So, Dr. Osagie, back to you there. Two things that came up now. One, NNPC was brought into it now, but you might have seen the report yesterday where NNP, was also saying that there's a lot of misinformation going on and things are not very much the way people are saying everything is NNPC, that when you take a look at the facts, you see that it's not as the, shall I say, the rumor mill and social media is putting it. But we're looking here at how to ease the pains. I just wanted to put that in perspective. Would you like to continue, Dr. Osagie?
Yes, I believe that in all of this, NNPC has a role to play. It is the government-owned oil company, and it is also a participant in the oil industry. In fact, it's a major participant, it's a major stakeholder. It has just been transformed into a limited liability company, which puts it at par with other companies that are involved in oil production. But as government-owned company, it owes the citizens a duty to continue to enlighten the people and push for a much more liberal approach to oil management, oil and oil product management in this country, because it is owned by government. Now, the point again is that the challenge is not the government. The challenge is from those who are involved in the oil marketing and importation in this country. Now, government does all things in order to encourage them to be able to do this, including providing forests, at official rates. Even now that Mr. President have urged that, directed that there should be a uniform rate. The truth of the matter is that over time, petroleum products importers have always had exchange rate at the official rate. But they are going to come around and tell you that, oh, the fluctuation in the exchange rate is affecting them. The truth of the matter is that many of them were not importing fuels at those exchange rates outside the I and E window. They created the I and E window, was importers and exporters window, was created because of these marketers, so that they can have what they call the official rate at that time. So, and at every little thing, they pass the buck to the mass of the people in order to make the government, to blackmail the government and make the government unpopular. So it didn't just start with this government, it has been on.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm a repentant supporter of fuel subsidy removal. We fought against it long ago, but the truth of the matter is that we must all apologize to President Jonathan, when he did attempted to do it 1st of January 2012. So a nation must undergo reform, and this president and this government must continue to muster the will and the courage to drive this process of reform while having his eyes on the ball, which is the ultimate welfare of the citizens of this country.
All right, then. Sorry, Dr. Osagie, I got to go on a break now, but please stay with us. We'll be right back, continue this conversation, and also keep taking your calls from home. Stay.